Good morning, everyone. Well, at least it's morning for me. It may not be for you, but hello and welcome. Uh, Thank you for coming to Truth Talk. These readings are all about you. Okay, these are general readings. They are, so take what resonates and leave the rest. The story may not be yours, and that's okay. These readings are about uncovering the masks that you may be wearing in the world, things that you've learned to do that it may be time to evaluate those masks. It may be time to see what's going on and set those down, or evaluate them to determine whether they're right for you or not to continue forward in your life. So I've created my own tarot spread that I do for these readings. So let's just go ahead and dive in. The first position that we have, I shuffle the cards, or place the cards out ahead of time, because I need to kind of meditate on them a little bit to get the story that needs to come out. So, but we'll go ahead and I clarify on the readings as we're going along here. So the first card that we have in the first position, which is the mask, which is the main thing that we want to talk about today, is the Five of Cups. So the Five of Cups here, you can see this little lady here, the Five of Cups. She is looking forlorn. You know, the cups are spilled. If you've seen, this is a traditional Five of Cups type of card. That the three cups spilled in front of her, with the two cups sitting there in the back upright. So what I get from this, the mask that we're uncovering today, is truly about, what I got was, how do I want to say it? That in our lives, we may, this to me is missed opportunities. Let me put it that way. Let's start with that. It's about missed opportunities where we might tend to focus on the negative versus the positive, where we may lack hope in certain situations. And we're all guilty of this. I mean, everything that we talk about on this channel is going to be, probably going to hit home in some way, because it's stuff that we all do. We're all guilty of at some point in our life. But this is looking at the cup as half empty. Okay, so this is, we may, looking at this as something that needs to be looked at right now. It's saying, where in your life are you looking at things as a negative versus a positive? Where are you focusing on your life right now? What things are you focusing on that you're looking at negatively, that you're not seeing the hope or the positive side of a situation? Because what that tells me, when we look at things in a negative perspective, and we're only focused on the negative, we're not being grateful for that situation. And I know that's easy for me to say, but I know I have actually, I do this to myself. And like I said, we all do it. We all have situations that we get caught in the trap of looking at the negative of something. We're focused on the negative, and we forget to expand our awareness and say, okay, well, what is this teaching me? Or what am I getting out of this? Why is this in my life? Because one thing that I'm out here doing these readings for, is to help people understand that everything we see in our life is a reflection of us. It comes from inside of us, and it's a projection out. So everything in the world is mirroring back to us what really is inside us internally. And so if we learn to see the world through that aperture, then we're able to then change the situation, because then we can see, okay, well, why is this happening to me? What am I doing? And taking that ownership and accountability, instead of playing the victim and say, the world is terrible, the world is out to get me. It's saying, okay, well, what am I responsible for? What can I do to change the circumstance? What can I do? Like, this is happening to me. Yes, this is happening to me, but what can I do? What power do I have? What can I do to change the circumstance? And what am I willing to do to change that circumstance? And that's a key thing, because we can sit there and say, oh yeah, I can change things, but how many of us actually act on it? I mean, this for instance, starting this channel, good example of this is, I had a tarot channel called Self-Conscious Tarot. I did tarot readings on that for 3 years. I tried to start up a second channel because I wanted to do a little more focused, like love type readings. And it was going well, but life happened. Life happened. I went and, I had a lot of stuff that happened, let's just say that, in the last couple of years. And so I got away from doing readings because I had to set them down. And, well, it's taken me a long time. It's taken me a couple of years to get back to doing them again, but I dragged my feet on getting started again. It took me many, many weeks of me thinking about it before I took action. So that's something to keep in mind is that it can be easy to know we need to change, but sometimes taking that action or getting ourselves motivated up and at 'em to get doing it is a whole nother thing. So let's go ahead and get a clarification card on this Five of Cups. Give me one clarification on this mask of the Five of Cups. Okay, so we have the Nine of Shells. Look at that. What I was just talking about. It says down there at the bottom, I don't know if you can see it, it says gratitude. Gratitude and fulfillment, And that's exactly what I was talking about there is gratitude. We have to have gratitude. We forget sometimes that everything may be a blessing in disguise. We're just not seeing what that is. And the blessing, yes, it can be hard and it can be difficult, but there's something it's teaching you out of that experience. You're gaining something out of that experience. We forget that sometimes. We forget that, sometimes a situation is making us a stronger person, or it's teaching us how to communicate better, or it's teaching us how to handle conflict, or, every situation has a silver lining, and actually there's something positive you're getting out of that. It's just the perspective that you're taking when you're looking at that situation. So that's something we have to keep in mind. So we go to the next position, and this is the mirror position. The mirror position in my spread is basically about what life is reflecting back to you. So this is when we're looking at the negative side of things, and this is the High Priestess. So when we're looking at the negative side of things, we're maybe not tapping into our intuition. We're getting in our own way because we might be getting in our own ego, which the ego is the mind. Our mind is getting in the way. We're justifying things. We're telling ourselves stories. We're not seeing the truth of the situation for what it really is and what it's bringing to our lives because we're not tapped into our intuition at that time. When we're stuck in our heads, we're not tapped into our intuition. And I love the fact that she's holding this pomegranate. And for me, I always see to me, I feel like pomegranates are good luck. They're good fortune, so she's holding this good luck and good fortune. And I love how she's holding that right over her heart. Like she's holding that over her heart saying, this is where the good fortune and the opportunity comes from. It comes from the heart. It comes from the way we see things, the way we feel things. It tells us things. It tells us, what is right and wrong for us. So, let's see, is there anything else that that I'm feeling? I also feel, I feel like with the way she's holding that I don't know, scroll or whatever this is, the way she's holding that scroll, she's kind of like almost trying to protect the knowledge and the wisdom that she has, which is interesting because typically the High Priestess is about, can be hiding things, secretive, where it's not divulging all the information. It's not, it's holding things, the cards close to your chest. And I feel like that's what she's holding, that wisdom, that knowledge that she's gained close to her chest so that she can take opportunity, find that opportunity in the situation. Okay, so let's give me a clarification on, I had two that just decided to hop right out and say hello. So what do we got here? So these are going to be clarifications on this High Priestess about what life is reflecting back to us. So we have the Six of Shells, and by the way, this is a Spirit Song tarot deck, and it's got beautiful artwork. It's all animals. So we have the Six of Shells, which it says sentiment and joy. And you look at these little otters, and otters are known to be playful. They're known to have fun. So it's kind of telling me, this is clarifying the high priestess energy. And we have the pomegranate, which is about good fortune. I see it as a positive thing. It's that positivity. And then we have otters, which are all about play, playfulness. You see otters and they just frivol and frolic around, and they're just so playful. I think those are otters, are supposed to be anyway. I also see, they do have the shells on there, and they're really hard to see in this image. The shell, there's 3 shells down here, and there's 3 up here. And isn't that interesting how we had the 5 of cups? The 5 of cups that had, the 3 spilt cups in front of her and the 2 upright ones behind her. And it's like these otters are parting the shells. So if you think of these shells similar to the cups, but now we have one more, but they're parting the shells. They're parting the way, they're clearing the air. So I feel like using your intuition, your high priestess energy, is saying, it's time to clear the air. It's time to clear the negative out and make way for fun and joy in our life. Okay. And the other card that we had here was the 5 of shells. And this actually came out under so it's like 6 first, 5 seconds. So this is telling me that we're kind of going down, and that's good. We want that. So this is, instead of intensifying, this means that that energy of the the energy that we were in here with the 5 of cups is maybe, it's a time when it can dissipate. So with this, we have hope and readjustment. So readjustment of our thoughts, the way we're looking at things, our perception of things. And I love that this has a little lightning bug on it. It's illuminating things to us, So again, it talks about the importance of taking a moment in time and getting out of our head, in our headspace, any situation, whether it be, a job, a relationship, whatever is being difficult, where you're looking at it in a negative perspective, take a minute and let this lightning bug illuminate, the situation for you in a different way. Let it shine light on the places that the light needs to shine in that situation. Find the silver lining in whatever that is. I kind of talked about this in my previous, the reading I did yesterday, the first one for this channel, about like in a relationship, there's reasons why you were drawn to that person that you're with to begin with. Yes, sometimes we get in relationships that are all about lessons that we're meant to learn. But then again, it's about the lessons that we're meant to learn. And sometimes we forget that. Sometimes it's not about me. It's not about you. It's not about the other person. It's really about, you were brought together so that you can learn something out of the situation, whatever that is, because you got to think that there's a reason why everybody has different astrological charts. There's a reason why these things, the planets and astrology and things, work in some aspect. And it's because we all are born into this life with different sets of circumstances, different experiences. We have different ways of looking at the world. We have different qualities and gifts that we've been given in this lifetime. And so we bring to the table something different. Every person in the world, when you interact with them, brings to the table something different. Hold on, I need some coffee. Needs something. They need something, they bring to the table something different. So they teach us something different, or they bring a different dynamic into our life that we've never experienced before, or may have never experienced before. When you run into soulmates, it tends to be, a lot of times you find similarities. That's honestly what makes them a soulmate, is because you find so many similarities between you and the other person, that you have the same outlooks, the same perspectives on things. And that's what kind of makes them soulmates, there's a commonality that you both share. And whereas like when we talk about karmics, It really is. It's just a clash in perspectives and personality, and those type of relationships are challenging, but they're meant to be challenging. They're meant to be challenging because that person is coming into your life to help you integrate their energy, something from their energy, their person, their persona into your persona, into your life force. They're teaching you, whether it's, like I said, and it could be a job, a person, anything. It's teaching you something. And so it's learning, what is this person bringing to the table? Are they mirroring something back to me that I now need to be aware of? Are they here to help me learn how to communicate better? Are they here to teach me a different type of frequency? Maybe I am somebody that tends to live in, the cup is half empty kind of, because there are more cups down than there are up here. So am I somebody that looks at life as that the cup is half full or half empty? So I see this 5 of cups almost saying, baby, there might be areas in your life or your life overall that you're looking at things in a negative point of view, or the cup is half empty versus half full. And so, sometimes people come into our life that help give us that hope and see things from a different perspective so that we can see the positive in the situation versus the negative. And we need those people that look at life that the cup is half full, because they're the optimists. They're the people that see the bigger picture. They see things. They have gratitude, a lot of gratitude and love for life. And sometimes we forget that. And even though people tend to be positive, they can get in that negative mindset. I mean, I'm guilty of that. I tend to be, I've had people tell me that I'm negative at times, but I've realized that a lot of times when I am in that negative mindset, it's because I've been around people that tend to have a negative mindset, and it brings my energy down. So I have to be very cautious of that, of who I'm around and the energy that I'm sharing. So we need to go on to the third. I don't want to make this too long like I did yesterday. So the third position is the flame position, and we have the star. We have the star card here as the flame position. The flame is what ignites our passion. And I actually like this, that she's, in most of the star cards, she's holding a cup of water and her cup's overflowing. It's talking about, I don't know why I'm putting the card in front of my face, but I think it's the position I'm in. Okay, there we go. I need to put it over here so that that way I'm not putting it in front of my face. So the star card here is, it's a card of healing, but I also feel like, like I'm seeing emotion. I'm almost seeing like a release of something here. So this is what ignites our passion. So it's telling me, emotionally, what is driving us emotionally right now? Look and see in your life what gets you going, because we kind of talked about at the beginning that, like how hard it can be to start something, to take that action. We may want to do something, we may want to make change, even like, going to the gym or starting a diet, it's challenging. So I feel like, the star card is coming in here and saying, what's stopping you? You have this passion, you have this desire to make a change. You know what it is, whether it's, like I said, it could be lots of different things. Whatever that is for you, what is that thing that you desire to make a change in your life about? And what's holding you back? What's stopping you? What's keeping you from releasing, whatever that burden is, setting it down? What's the negative spin you're putting on or telling yourself? What's the story? There we go. What's the story that you're telling yourself that's keeping you held back? From starting or undertaking whatever that change is, or whatever that thing is that you're wanting to do, that your intuition, we go back to that High Priestess card, your intuition is telling you at this time that you need to take care of. So that you know you need to take action on, but you're not in some way. So and that could be as simple as just it could be mental. Changing something mentally, the way that you're looking at something, which I feel like that could be the case since we're talking about, almost like a pessimistic versus optimistic attitude in this whole reading. I think is kind of the theme of how our negative, the negative voices in our head sometimes can get the better of us. And that's the mask that we wear. We're masking the fact that, how do I want to put this? What we're hiding is we're basically hiding our opportunities from ourselves. Let me put it that way. That's the mask that's being worn is what we're hiding with the mask by being negative, by looking at things from a negative perspective. We play victim and we keep ourselves from doing and taking the action that we need to do to change the circumstances. So I kind of felt like I needed to clarify that because it can be a little bit challenging. These are difficult readings, and I want to take the moment now and so if you want to dive in more, I wrote a book here. It's called We Are Not What We've Been Taught. And this is a book all about masks. It tells us about the different masks that we wear, that we put on in our lifetime. It lets you really dive deep. This is not light reading. This is work through. It's like a self-help book where it walks you through the different types of masks so that you can be aware of them, you can see them for what they are, and then you evaluate. It walks you through an evaluation process to evaluate the masks that you have, and no masks are good or bad. They're there for a purpose, and we can examine them at any time, always through our life, and say, are they still serving a purpose or not? We all wear masks. We wear them all the time. Some serve us, some do not. Some we've taken on, we've brought on, that we've learned from our childhood, and that they're no longer serving us, and they're actually holding us back. And that's what we're getting to in these readings. That's why I wanted to, when I was clarifying that, I wanted to bring that book up because it would help you understand that it's all about like being able to see the masks for what they are, see what we're doing and why, what's stopping us, what's holding us back from being our best selves. And that's what I'm here to try and do, is to help you be a better version of yourself. Through these readings, you can see and evaluate things that might be going on with you at the moment. And again, it comes back to the High Priestess, that we have to use our intuition. We have to use our intuition on everything, to include these readings. Don't take something that's not meant for you because this is a general reading. This reading may or may not be for you. Maybe you are an optimist, or maybe you're an optimist that is currently pessimistic. Maybe there's a situation that you're struggling through because you're looking at it. You know that you need to look at it from a different point of view, but you're not able to at this time. And maybe this reading will say, okay, well, maybe I need to stop and let the let the light in, let the light in here with the lightning bug, to get a different perspective, to see things in a more optimistic way. Okay, so to go back to this, kind of got off track there. We have the Ace of Shells. The Ace of Shells, this little sea turtle here. He is clarifying the star card, which it says happiness and abundance. Happiness and abundance. So he is actually diving down. He's diving down. I feel like I'm getting the impression. I mean, I don't know that he actually is, but I feel like it seems like he's diving downwards. And I'm not sure what shells are in this deck. I want to say that they're probably water. I believe. I'm not 100% sure. You know what? I don't know. I'm going to have to look that up because I'm not sure in this deck what... I'm an intuitive reader. I don't necessarily go by the cards. So, but I feel like this little turtle guy, he's diving down into the depths. It's like he's breaking the surface of what, what is being shown to him. I'm sorry, I'm getting hot. I had to turn my fan off because it was picking up the noise too much on my reading when I filmed. So I had to turn my fan off. So I'm a little bit warm in here today. So we have, he's diving down into the deeps here, out of the shallows. And I feel like I get that funny enough. And we have this on the star, the emotions. So funny enough that I'm actually getting here that the songs coming up were by Lady Gaga, the we're far from the shallows now. The lyrics that are coming up in my head, we're far from the shallows now, because this is going deep. This is talking about, and the star card is a card of healing. It's about healing something inside us. And so this is going deep. This isn't surface level. This is something that is probably something that could have been taught to you. Maybe you had people around you growing up that had a negative attitude about things in their life. They didn't know how to spin or look at things in a positive perspective, which held them back from opportunities in their life. So this could definitely be around, generational trauma to a degree. It doesn't have to be, but this is also, we have to remember, this is about what ignites us, what lights us up, what ignites us. This is our flame, our passion. So we have to dive deep sometimes to find what that is. Sometimes we don't know what that is off the top of our head, like it's not something that is a surface thing. To understand our passion and what ignites us. We have to really think about that. We have to go in and think, what really lights us up, what brings us that joy, what brings us that happiness, what brings us what can bring us that abundance. And abundance comes in many forms. It's not just monetary, and sometimes we forget that abundance it's not tied to wealth. Monetary wealth, 3D wealth. Abundance you can have an abundance of joy. You can have an abundance of people in your life. Abundance comes in lots of forms, and it might be that maybe, again, it's a perspective thing where you're not seeing that. So hopefully I covered that pretty well. So our next position is the boundary position, and the boundary position is basically talking about what we might need to say no to in our life right now. Like, what is not serving us at this time? What is distracting you? What's draining you? What's distracting you? What's keeping you from your best self? Because that's again what we're talking about here. These readings are all about what's keeping you from being your best true self right now. Right now at this time, when the time of these readings. So there was two cards that came out here. We have the Three of Swords, and I think that's the Ten of Pentacles. Yeah, the Ten of Pentacles. Yeah, the Ten of Pentacles. So we have the Three of Swords and the Ten of Pentacles here that came out together for this position. And so when we're talking about what's draining us, what is not serving us, what is distracting us or keeping us from our being our best self right now, there's something. Again, we're going back to that pain. Usually I hate to use the word trauma, but it could be, it could just be something that we've experienced. It's something we've experienced in this lifetime that we're still holding on to, that we're still holding. Look how she's holding her head, so it's mental. It's something that we haven't released, we haven't let go of. And then we go back to the beginning, to the Five of Cups. This is focusing on, the up in her head, focusing on something that hurt us, something that it's something we've learned, possibly from our childhood, with the Ten of Pentacles here, because that's kind of the card of the family. It could be something that we learned growing up that has got us, and I keep going back to that, and it's a strong. So I have a feeling for a lot of people here, or a lot of people that may end up watching this reading, that it might be something family related. It doesn't necessarily have to be, but it can be. It's some kind of family dynamic, something that we were taught growing up, and it doesn't have to be directly from our family members. It could be just from our childhood growing up. It could be an extended family member. It could be there's lots of things, but it's something that has taught us to possibly look at things in a negative perspective or not, or miss seeing the positive something that keeps us from finding our joy in life, whatever that is. And that's why it's important right now when we go back, when we see the mirror, and the mirror is the high priestess, the mirror, what is being mirrored to us is that we are basically guarding our heart, because she had that hot pomegranate in front of her heart. And it's saying, I'm keeping all my joy, and I'm safe holding, because pomegranates are good fortune, good luck. And it's like, it's almost like I get the impression, funny enough, it just kind of came up, is almost I don't know why, but I got the feeling of the Four of Pentacles right then. The Four of Pentacles, how some of the cards of the Four of Pentacles, he's holding that coin close to his chest, and it's safeguarding it. And so it brought me back to this card when I thought about that, is she's safeguarding. And I kind of even talked about that, like safeguarding her wisdom, safeguarding her knowledge. It's like protecting something, and so I think that's what's being mirrored back to us at this time, is that we're being shown of where we might be closing ourselves off, where we might be, what's the word? How do I want to say this? Like, it's a closed off energy, closed off to maybe new ideas, closed off, with being a high priestess and talk about intuition, wisdom, and she was holding that scroll of knowledge. It might be we're closed off to new ways of looking at things, new ideas, new concepts, new perspectives on things. Because we may cherish what we've been raised with. We've been taught one way. We've been taught, like you think of some of the challenge we're having right now in the world, as far as, there's folks in the world that don't really understand a lot of what's going on with different things. I mean, to include the gamut of sexuality, different things, different topics in the world right now. And a lot of that has to do with upbringing. It's not a comfortable arena for a lot of people, because they were raised in a time period that kind of stuff wasn't acceptable. So they have a hard time mentally wrapping their mind around why someone would choose those things for themselves. It's not that they maybe, how do I want to put this gently? It's not that, because I'm going to tell you right now, sometimes I can be very, very harsh. I have a lot of fire in my chart, so I can be very harsh sometimes, very direct, very blunt about what I say, and sometimes that can be taken wrong. So I'm trying to tread carefully here. But sometimes folks will, like, especially, older generations, they don't understand the choices that some of the younger generations are making. And it's because they don't have that perspective. They haven't lived through the life or the experiences that the younger generation are living through right now. And the younger generation hasn't lived through what the older generation has lived through. So they don't understand there's that disconnect. And so when it comes to different things like ways of life, an older person, especially the much older generations, might have challenges around that. And a lot of that stems from how they were raised. I know my family, they were raised in very small towns. So they don't have a huge aperture for the world at large, because that their aperture is small. Their experiences have kept them in a bubble, contained in a bubble, and luckily, because of the power of the internet, now we can connect globally, and more people understand things. They have a wider aperture than we ever did before. Years and years ago, or like 50 years ago, we didn't have that kind of aperture to experience different lifestyles, different cultures, to really understand people. So getting back to this boundary of what's draining us. It was, she's holding her mind, or it's the Three of Swords, so it's heartache. But what's what's causing that heartache is the way we're looking at, the way we're thinking. It's our thought pattern. It's something within the way we're thinking of something that's causing that. Or maybe we're holding on to repeating something over and over in our head, that is keeping us in that loop of negativity of around a subject. And this doesn't mean that you're negative in all areas of your life. It just means that, there might be this one thing right now that is standing out that needs to be looked at, that maybe you're looking at, that you need to take a different look at in a different perspective than you have, previously or up to this point. So we had 2 cards of clarification come out on this position, the boundary position. We have the High Priestess again in a different deck. High Priestess again in a different deck. And the Wheel, the High Priestess and the Wheel. So this is changing our perspective. That's exactly what I was just talking about, changing our perspective. Because the High Priestess is about our intuition. It's about like listening to our inner guidance. And the Wheel is about change. It's about something changing. So it's changing, using our intuition, to change our perspective on something that maybe has been keeping us stuck and breaking our heart. And we're breaking our own heart. And why are we breaking our own heart? Because it's tied to something that we have learned that it's time to release. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and go on to the wave. The wave in this spread is all about our emotions. So it's the emotional truth that needs to be felt. What do we need to feel right now? How do we need to feel into things right now? And this is a good position for this reading, considering we opened up with the 5 of Cups, which isn't a card of emotions. It talks about, where we're looking at things negative versus positive, and then we have what emotionally needs to be felt at this time. We have the 3 of Wands. The 3 of Wands, and in this day, she's looking out to brighter horizons. I love that this is, I don't know if that's supposed to be a sunset or a sunrise. I can't tell. I have a feeling, it's sun. I think it might be a sunset. I think it's just because I only want to say that because I feel like those are darker colors, but in the sky. But I also look at that. She's not steering the ship. She's not steering the ship at all. She's looking at the sunset. She's enjoying the sunset. And I feel like she's in this moment of, have you ever watched a sunset? I'm sure you have. Everybody probably has. If you haven't, I encourage you to do so. Take the time to go and watch a sunset if you haven't. But think back to that moment in time when you were sitting out watching the sunset. Were you thinking about anything else in the world? Were you concentrated on anything negative? No. What were you thinking at that time, the last sunset? Like when I know every time I go see a sunrise or a sunset, I'm just in awe of the beauty of the colors of what is, I look out the window. I looked out the window. I'm like, but that's what you get lost in the moment. You get lost in the colors, you get lost in the moment. And that's what this is talking about, is like, let's get lost in the moment of life, of what's going on. We can get so stuck in our head and we forget to feel, we forget to lay our burdens down and just let ourselves feel. Let go of the wheel, let go of control. It's funny, I just thought about this. We had the wheel, it's like, where are you trying to control things? This is almost telling me, again, we go back to the High Priestess, which came out twice. We even came out, it clarified that last card. We had it twice. And the High Priestess is someone that goes by intuition. They let their inner guidance steer them. They don't, they're not mental in their head. They're not getting in their own way. They're not trying, a High Priestess isn't trying to control the situation. She's trying to learn from the situation. She's trying to gain knowledge from the situation. She gets out of her own way. And I say her because it's feminine on the card. So please understand it's not gender specific. But I love that we have this wheel here. But she's not controlling, she's not steering. She's not taking the wheel. She's not steering. She's letting life happen to her. and she's enjoying the ride. And so I feel like that's the message here from the wave position, is that we need to enjoy the ride. That's what this life is. It's a ride. We're on a boat. We're sailing through, navigating, because if you think about it, life is a stream. It's a current, a series of events. We're just navigating these series of events that are happening to us. We're riding the current. Sometimes we go against the current, and a lot of times when we go against the current, and that's what I feel like, there might be a place where we're going against the current because we're fighting it. We're fighting something, and I think whatever we're fighting it's something that we've been taught internally and this is just for the spread. Keep that in mind. Take it only as it resonates. There might be something inside of you that you're fighting at this time, and it has to do with a perception you have, something you've been taught from your childhood, possibly, or from a relative or something like that is stuck with you. It's stuck with you your whole life, and it's like, this is keeping me stuck. It's keeping me from my best self. It's keeping me from experiencing something greater, because I'm not seeing the value in the situation, or I'm not changing the situation. I'm just keeping myself stuck up in my head. I'm keeping myself stuck up in my head thinking about it versus feeling my way through it. What do I need to change, or how do I need to look at things differently? So we have clarifying the Three of Wands. We have the Justice card. And it's about truth, truth, justice, truth. So this is truth and clarity. I almost get a feeling it's the Justice card, but I'm seeing the Ace of Swords and Ace of Swords, Queen of Swords are both popping into my head with this Justice card. But justice is giving ourselves justice sometimes. Sometimes we have to make the choice for ourselves of what's best for us. No one can do that for us. Kind of going back to what I said earlier about that, we get two choices in life. We can play the victim and believe that everything is happening to us, that we have no control, and that we aren't, that we have no control over what happens to us in our circumstances. Or we can believe that we do have control, that things are happening to us because we're meant to learn something and gain some kind of knowledge, that it actually is in our lives to give us some kind of wisdom so that we can do something different. We can make different choices because maybe it's trying to change the narrative of what we've learned. Because if you think about when you're a small child, you see the world so much differently than you do as an adult. And the reason for that is because as an adult, you've had all these experiences in your life to draw on, whereas as a child, you didn't. You maybe only had that one or two experiences, that situation to dwell or to draw from that taught you something specific. But it may no longer serve you as an adult because now you've learned different things, but maybe you're still programmed under the way that you were as a child. You're still doing things in the same way that child, your child self would have done it, because that's what you taught. Like, you taught yourself that was the way things needed to be, this is the way we handle a situation. And that goes into a lot of attachment styles. If we want to talk up and bring up attachment styles, sometimes that comes from the way we've learned to deal with situations because of wounding that we have. And it goes back to that's some of those masks that we can put on that I talk about, in my book, which is linked on my channel. But it really does go, it really is a lot about, when something happens to us that we don't like, we find a way to deal with it. We just adapt or adopt some way of dealing with whatever is negative that's happening to us. But sometimes the way we've adapted or adopted the ideas that we've had on ways to protect ourselves isn't serving our highest good. It may be hindering us versus helping us. We think that it's helping us, but it may not be. And unless we look at that and say, is it is this way that I've learned to deal with this situation the best way possible? There's never right or wrong. It's just, is it still suiting me or not? Is this the best way I could handle a situation? Or am I keeping myself from experiencing something new? Am I, because of the way that I've taught myself to protect myself in this situation, is it keeping me from experiencing something bigger, something more, something greater, or something different than I have in the past? So the final card we have today is the Ace of Pentacles, and this is the permission. This is what we need to say yes to. And I feel like I'm getting, I think it was Jim Carrey I think he was in a movie where he had like something was cast on me, had to say yes to everything. I can't remember the name of the movie. I'm not a huge movie person. Funny enough, I only watch movies with other people. Usually, occasionally I watch them by myself, but typically I'll watch movies with other people, and that comes to my challenges around attention span at times. It's very hard for me to sit and concentrate on something for that long, especially with the movies being 3 or 4 hours now. It's very hard for me to sit and do nothing else, because I'm somebody that needs to be like doing something with my hands or moving, fidgeting in some way. It's very hard for me to sit still for that long period of time. But with this, as what we need to allow ourselves to say yes to, it's saying yes to opportunities. And as I said, I got that movie from Jim Carrey come in my mind about where you had to say yes to everything. And I think it was Jim Carrey. But it's kind of, I'm getting that picture for a reason. It's coming in my mind because it's kind of like, where are you not saying yes, and why are you not saying yes? What do you need to say yes to that you're not saying yes to? I really get that strongly. What are we saying we can't do, when we really can, is what I'm getting here. And then we have, the boundary comes back to, what have we taught ourselves that might be holding us back from doing something that we want to do. Again, it goes back to taking that action. How are we keeping ourselves from doing something that we want to do? What's stopping us? What's blocking us? So we have the Sun, Joy. We have a lot of cards of like, maybe it's this deck. It could be this. I may have to go through here, but maybe it's the Spirit Song deck. That's mostly. It might be all positives, which is good. That it's all optimistic and positive. But I think I love that this is a hummingbird. So funny enough, I can't see it very well because of the camera's going to be backwards. I can't give it to you. I don't think I can put it in the camera. But I have a hummingbird with a butterfly with butterfly wings tattoo. My only tattoo. I actually got that in The Hague when I was in the Netherlands. But funny enough, I bring that up because the intention behind my tattoo I got is I wanted to transition into a life of joy. Okay, that was my intention. I wanted that, that's why I got this tattoo on me, is because it was to remind me. I'm sorry. It was fun day after 4th of July, so fires, people setting off fireworks. I got this tattoo because it's to help remind me that I wanted to transition into a life of joy. That's what's important to me, is to live a joyful life. And so we have the hummingbird coming out as clarification on new opportunities. So it's really like, where are we stopping ourselves? Where are we keeping ourselves from bringing more joy into our lives? How are we hindering ourselves or stopping ourselves from bringing more joy into our lives, of taking these opportunities? What's keeping us from taking these opportunities that would bring more happiness and joy into our lives? We know that it would. it's something that our intuition is telling us. And it could be, we can go back and say it could be a diet or exercise, because maybe, we're overweight and we're feeling the impact of that extra weight on our bodies, and it's weighing on us, and we know we need to do something about it, but we're not. And so what is that programming? What is keeping us from doing or taking action on what we should be taking action on right now? And I have a feeling, with the blockage coming out as something being heartbreak from possibly family, it's something we've been taught. Maybe, if it's something related to food, it could be, maybe you've had family members that always criticize there's really something going on. It's a lot of sirens. So maybe you had something that went on in your lifetime or like from your childhood. Maybe you had people around you that criticized and judged the way that you looked, like that made you feel bad about yourself if you had extra weight. Maybe, or people around you that kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Teased you or tormented you about your weight. And so that gave you a complex about it. But then, that's where you can feel really bad about yourself, because you've learned that, through experience you've had. And so that's something that might need to be released, is to understand that was the way, they saw that about you, but that's not who you are. Just because they said those things or they believe those things doesn't mean you need to believe them. Okay. It's all about you and the way you look at yourself. And so, it's something along those lines. Or maybe you were somebody that was taught as a child that you had to eat everything on your plate, or that you couldn't be wasteful because, you had to eat everything on your plate because, food costs money and you couldn't be wasteful. So only take it. There's all kinds of things. One of the biggest things that I had to overcome was, you had to work hard to make a living. You had to have anything in life. It came at hard. You had to work hard at something that, and that was a hard challenge for me to break. And that was something that, it was ingrained from me, from my family and my childhood, that nothing comes easily in life. Everything, it comes that you have to work hard to attain anything. And it took me a long time to break that cycle, to say, no, I don't have to. I don't have to work hard. If you do something you enjoy and that you love, it's easy, because then work's not work. It doesn't feel like work if you're doing something you enjoy and love. It doesn't feel like work for you. So, but it took me a long time to break that, and that's this is kind of what we're going back to. And I bring that up because these are the type of things that this could be, that could be stopping you or stopping us or stopping you, whatever that is. And I say those as examples, not as truths, but as examples, so that you can help you look at what may be stopping you, or what may be hindering you, or what you may be looking at that you can't do that you really can, that's keeping you from the opportunities that would bring more happiness and joy in your life. It is very, very, very easy for us to get stuck in that trap of not feeling like you don't deserve something, and not taking the action or keeping yourself from those opportunities because of worthiness, because you feel you're not worthy. And if you don't feel like you're worthy of something, there's definitely a wounding there somewhere, or something you've been taught, a belief that is keeping you from that, or making you believe that you're not worthy of it, because we're all worthy of everything. We're all worthy of abundance in our life. We're all worthy of a great and wonderful, beautiful life, but we have to get out of our own way. And I think that's a lot of what life is. It's about teaching us to get out of our own way. How do we learn how to navigate this life? It goes back to this, how do we navigate this life? And a lot of it is not steering the wheel, going with the flow, going with the current, letting life happen to us. instead of trying to control it. And that's very, very hard for most of us to do, is to just live in the moment and let life happen and understand that everything happens for a reason. We may not understand it, but there's a reason for it. And sometimes, we have to understand, or ask the questions of why is this happening to us? Because sometimes it's just because it's there to help break something that is not serving us. Something we've taught ourselves that's not serving our highest good. That's not serving. It's not bringing us the life that we're meant to live. We're keeping ourselves. Sometimes our ego gets in the way, our mind gets in the way, and it tells us things because our mind tries to protect us. Our ego, that's what it really is. It's our mind from learned experiences. It's trying to protect us. It's trying to keep us safe. But sometimes it can get in our own way, and that's all it is. It's us getting in our own way, and once we learn that it's us and the way we're seeing the world that's actually getting in the way and not other people and circumstances outside of us, when we start seeing the world in a different way, the world will start happening to us in a different way. Things will change in our outer world because of the changes we make in our inner world. So that's the note I'm going to leave this on. I hope you have a wonderful and blessed day wherever you are in the world, and thank you for joining me. Well wishes. See you the next time.